Welcome everybody to another pick a card reading. Today's reading is about the Jupiter Retrograde for 2021, which is really less than a week away when I'm filming this particular video. And I was inspired to quickly come on and do a video about this, having seen some interesting information about this particular retrograde, thinking about it in my own chart and my own life, but more generally in response to what's happening in the world and has been happening in the world over the last year or two. I think it's a very profound energy for us to examine, even though Jupiter does go retrograde every 9 months, so it's nothing especially different or unusual for this pattern to occur. There's some very interesting other astrological aspects around this one. Firstly, it's going retrograde from Pisces into Aquarius. So Jupiter's expansive, empathic energy within a similarly expansive and empathic sign is now moving back into the more transpersonal and more philosophical sign of Aquarius. And that's also, of course, where it has been doing a bit of a dance with Saturn in the last year or so. And you put these two things together and you get a really strong opportunity to look at both individual and cultural beliefs and myths or patterns in our life that are either serving us or are not serving us. And the other interesting thing right now with it first starting, and it goes on for around 4 months, so it'll be retrograde till 18th of October. But what is happening just at the point pretty much that it goes retrograde, Mercury goes forward again 2 days later. So things around language and communication are also very key to this, and how we use language and communication to form our beliefs or to reflect on them. So I thought this was quite an important transit for all those reasons, and one that really lent itself to a pick a card reading to allow people to think about what beliefs and structures both culturally and individually are serving you at the moment, and what ones might be good to reflect on, let go of, or revise in some way. So that's what this reading is about, asking Spirit for some advice for you about how to maximize the blessings that can come with a Jupiter retrograde in terms of clearing your energy field and your beliefs and moving forward for your highest possible good. So as with all readings, the important thing is to tune in to the right pack. So there's 3 options to choose from today. The first, pile 1, has an amethyst crystal. The second, pile 2, has a lapis lazuli, and the third, pile 3, has a red jasper. Contemplate these and determine which one calls to you. If more than one calls to you, by all means listen to more than one reading. There may be messages in more than one for you around this, particularly if you have many planets or key aspects of your chart in either Pisces or Aquarius. This may particularly impact you, or in other signs that are strongly aspected to that. So if you know your chart, you may know whether there's likely to be more than one message for you. But in any case, if you need, pause the video and contemplate them before choosing. And when you have decided what pile or piles you want to go to, the timestamps for the reading will be in the description box below, and I'll see you in your reading. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. The first cards here come from the Angel Tarot, and I've specifically chosen them as a bit of an overarching message for how the Jupiter retrograde energies may be operating for you and the opportunities that they provide. And I'll be looking both at what the classic meaning is of those cards, and then also what the angels operating for those cards may be bringing to the mix. So for you, there seems to be some real issues around how much you need to follow your own light and your own path, and the impact of that on both the friendships, family and other relationships around you, and your material well-being. The reason I say it is that we have the Hermit, which is typically about following your spiritual path, and it's a very powerful energy to take advantage of anything like a Jupiter retrograde, to be really looking at beliefs and how they align with you spiritually. And then that's connected to the Four of Wands, which is typically around our relationships, our sense of community, our family, our friends, and the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles is around what our material basis is. The fact that you have 2 4s suggests to me that the structures of your life in those areas are very important. And but most of the people who've come to pile 1 have done quite a lot of work probably in the last year or two to establish their sense of placement within a community and an organisation, within a family structure, whatever it might be. And they really have built something that has a foundation. The opportunity of 4s is to move through the cycle of the 5 to the 6, which essentially looks at what is really working now and what do you need to leave behind. So the 5 of Wands can bring about, which is the natural next step from the 4 of Wands, can bring about some internal or external conflict to work out what the right relationships are. And the 4 of Pentacles can risk some degree of loss or reworking of the structure of the life to eventually get to the 6, which is more around a sense of flow and generosity. So the fact that you've got the Hermit here, pile 1, suggests that you're taking a very spiritual view of this. In terms of the angels operating over this, I'm going to say right now that I'll probably not pronounce their names correctly. So for anybody out there who knows the proper pronunciation, if I butcher those pronunciations, I apologise. But the Hermit in this pack is watched over by Ayabamia by the looks of things. And that is the word of God creating all. So the energy around that is alchemy and transformation. It rules natural events and helps with spiritual progress. So, as I say, an incredibly fitting sort of card to overlook what you can get from the Jupiter retrograde. And it suggests that you are no new person to a spiritual path and that you would always take a spiritual approach to looking at anything happening in the material world. You've probably already done a lot of work with the connection of Jupiter and Saturn more recently and so forth. The 4 of Wands has Mahasya, and that is God the Saviour, and it's about rectification, helps one live in peace with everyone. So some of my pile 1, you may literally have been dealing with conflict-based organisations or family scenarios or friendship circles of recent times. Some of the lessons and challenges of the Saturn and Jupiter connections and some of those very big astrological energies that have occurred in the last 12 months or so may have taken a bit of a toll on you, but this suggests that you have still kept your eye on what is good and important in your connections with people. And 4 of Pentacles has Mizrael, God liberating the oppressed. So it's about self-atonement, it cures mental illness and deliverance from persecution. So some of you may have taken up a cause on a community level, a cause on an organisational level, a cause within your family or within your friendships, a very protective energy around this that comes from your spiritual base, that comes from what you believe is important. And I think therefore that Jupiter retrograde now gives you an opportunity to work out whether or not you want to shift, change or realign what you've been doing with that cause, and whether or not the right connections are with you or whether you need to think about that and restructure it. So I think that for pile 1, there's a great opportunity to both have a spiritual enlightenment in this period, but also to manifest that very much in the way that you relate to others on a material level. So let's use another tarot deck just to ask Spirit for a little bit more information on this and what the opportunities are, and maybe even where are the ideas and beliefs that aren't serving you, or the communication around you is not serving you, that will help you make the decisions about what is spiritually aligned to your relationships and your material being. So I think Spirit is saying, firstly, with the Magician under the Hermit, it's very much underlining that the people who are coming to this reading are very spiritually advanced. You have been, I think many of you probably have been drawn to this reading because you're very well aware of the astrological energies and you know how to use them and understand them. And I think you have a very clear idea about where your own needs and egos align with those or don't align with those of the people around you. For some, this period of time is going to create a new relationship or a new attitude about love. but it has come from separating from a different viewpoint or a person. It could be either. With the fact that the Three of Swords is under the Four of Wands, it may be that some of you make breaks with certain groups or people in your life so that you can bring this new energy in. It may be that you recognize that the security of certain situations is not nourishing you on a spiritual level, and if so, you will make that decision to move on or to limit the connection over this period of time with others. Jupiter is very generous, and it will be a difficult thing, I think, for you to do it because you are by nature generous. You are by nature, you connect your spirituality to your interactions with others and your relationships with others. And there is a lot of love in you. There is a lot of both universal and individual love that you bring to your spiritual practice. But Spirit is saying there is an assessment that needs to be made, even if it's a bit painful, because that allows in new energy for you to create what you are meant to create in the world. The only real challenge you have is that you sometimes lock yourself up with your beliefs. With the Eight of Swords there are beliefs about limitation around it. You may think you are not talented enough or capable enough to take something to another level. You may think, I need to stick in the Four of Pentacles because at least I've got this, and if I move on to the next level, maybe I'm going to lose out. But the beauty of a Jupiter retrograde is it can allow us to unleash all those past beliefs and things we've heard. Some of you may have heard things from your family and from those who you thought were materially your better or your authority figures, that there are limitations and there are rules and this is what you have to do. But I think Spirit is saying you're more advanced than that, and if you go back to your spiritual knowing, you'll make the decisions you need to make. But they're going to feel painful philosophically to some degree to do it, but it's letting in a much stronger energy of both love and also of activity and ambition and moving forward. So let's ask Spirit to give a little bit more information on these, a little bit of clarity on these particular cards to help you make that, because Spirit is saying that there will be some pain in the contemplation or some difficulty in the contemplation, partly because of your beliefs before. But that's precisely why this period of time with Jupiter going retrograde, it's a brilliant time to be thinking about this. And as I said in the introduction, between Pisces and Aquarius, to get the balance right between the caring for others and the philosophical, the more transpersonal side of things. So there is a cycle of completion, is what Spirit's saying here, that you have developed to a particular point, and it has certainly created a basis in both your relationships and in your material world that is good, that is a good foundation to move forward. But you do need to realise that some things have served their purpose and it is time to complete that. You can do it without losing the warmth and the drive that came with it. For some, this will be the connection to another person as well with the King of Wands. It could be that there is a new person coming into your life in this period that has King of Wands qualities. So it doesn't have to be a gender-based thing, but someone who is very happy and accepting of their place in the world. They're quite charismatic, they're quite action-oriented, they're quite generous. So for some of you, this whole thing will be triggered by a new relationship coming in, but for others, this is about you starting to have more regard for your own ego and your own abilities, and not seeing that as something that's inherently selfish. Because Spirit is saying the Three of Swords comes from your empathy. You have a huge amount of empathy, pile one, for other people. That's what's creating this sort of energy around you, where to make the changes that this offers, it feels like you're going to hurt people and you don't want to hurt people. I think that Spirit is saying you won't hurt them as much as you think because of that empathy and that beautiful way that you can deal with people and so forth. But there are decisions that you do need to make to come into your own power. So the Emperor here suggests that you are meant to be leveling up in this period of time and particularly materially, I think, though possibly for some of you in organisations. So Jupiter is working to unleash potential on that level for you. It's interesting, though, that it's next to the Four of Pentacles. So we've got the Four of Pentacles twice. And I think that, and it's also interesting that that's what's clarifying the Eight of Swords for you, Pile 1. It is saying the only thing that's holding you back at the moment is the fear of loss by making the changes, levelling up. That all the energies are there for you and you've done the work on a spiritual, intellectual, emotional, all of those levels. But there is a side of you that is worried about the cost of moving on. And I think Spirit is trying to say, that's your only limitation, and if you can be a little bit more believe in yourself and the energies here, you can take it to the next level. But it might be that you have to go back to what was it about spiritually in the first place, because there is a great deal of spiritual strength in this reading, Pile 1. You are driven by that primarily. You are driven by what you believe and what you spiritually know to be true. And it's the manifesting of it into the world and the preparedness to go to the next level that sometimes makes you stop yourself in your tracks and worry about the impact on others. I think Spirit is saying you won't hurt people as much as you think, and this is important to move forward because there's so much more that you can bring into the world. So I want to have a look with an oracle that is about sort of energetic and practical measures to see what else Spirit can tell us about this period of time for you, Pile 1. So this came out just in the shuffling, so I'm going to put it down and get 2 other cards. So this is very interesting energy again for Jupiter retrograde, because we start with surrender. And it's under the Hermit. It came with the world, the closing of a cycle, and the Magician, the understanding of the power that you actually have. Surrendering to that and surrendering to understanding the opportunities that are there, that this is not just your ego. I think for some of you, you feel it's your ego. You think it could be almost beneath you to do whatever this opportunity is because it feels selfish or it feels egoic. But there is so much that you can bring to either the relationship or to your workplace or to your friends, whatever is represented by the Four of Wands, that surrendering to that knowing is in fact the thing to do. And understanding underneath all of it, there is a hunger. Now this is going to manifest in a couple of ways I'm hearing. One is that some of the people, if you need to spend less time with them or separate or whatever that Three of Swords meant, you are going to be met with hunger. You're going to be met with them trying to cling on. And that's probably why the Queen of Cups is here. It's for discernment. It's for being able to gently but firmly keep the boundaries that you need, but also make the assessment. And sometimes it may be that you decide not to separate as much as you potentially would have, to slow the progress that you have, even if that somehow meets the needs of others. And you'll get that balance right, but you are going to be met with it. The other side of hunger, I think, is that you yourself, within your soul, have a hunger. You know, you don't need me to tell you that there aren't the next steps for you, that you are ready, that your own higher self is telling you that and has a hunger to move into this. But it's just this moral carefulness that you have, that you don't want to hurt others in doing it. And that's very admirable, but it will still be a hunger there. And the only way to have the peace is to be prepared to take the step, whatever it is. So I think that's very clear. As this is an astrological reading, I also want to have a look at some other astrology energy that might be around this. And depending upon what cards come up, the cards themselves might tell us enough, or we may also use the astro dice to get some more energy around it. So we've got Taurus and Scorpio to start with, so maybe quite a few of you have Taurus or Scorpio strongly in your chart. It may be your sun sign, it may be ascendant or moon sign if you know your chart more generally. It doesn't have to be. If it's not, I think the areas that Taurus and Scorpio govern are very very appropriate for this, because Taurus is very much about the material world and also to some degree about the enjoyment with others and so forth. I always think of Taurus as good wine, good company, that sort of celebratory side of things. It's very material, very much of this world, whereas Scorpio tends to be more of the other world, and it's more around psychic ability and psychic connections and all the things that the Hermit would give access to. The tarot correspondence for Scorpio is the Death card. So again, it's very much saying there's a choice here for you. The good news I always think about the Death card is that I don't believe it's a choice you have to make at this time. You could put it aside if you're not quite ready, and that won't take away the options. But this, I think, is coming up because it's a very well aspected time to make exactly this sort of choice because of the Jupiter retrograde energy that's around it. Chiron is the wounded healer. So there is something in you, pile one, that is healing to others. It may be that for some of you, you literally are working in healing areas or have a spiritual approach that has healing at its core. But the trick with Chiron is that it's called the wounded healer, the one that isn't able to heal themselves. So I think there's a few messages with this. It is saying that communication and community with others with the Four of Wands is very important, that just going off and being the hermit is not the answer. So if you're thinking, well, okay, I've just got to cut everybody out so that I can concentrate on that, that is not going to be nourishing to you. You do need the communion with others. I think the Queen of Cups in you, which is a Scorpio card, will know that, but I'm just saying that it is an issue. But it's also a highly spiritual card, Chiron. So again, it's connecting to this spiritual development. And then we've got water as the main element for you, Queen of Cups. So I think it's very much saying that you are, if you are concerned, and I do think some of you are concerned, that there's opportunity that is coming to you, be it a relationship, a work thing, something in your family, whatever it is, the opportunity that Jupiter retrograde is going to bring you, and you've probably got some sense of already. Whatever it is, I think you are very worried about the impact on others, and you know that it is part of what you should do, but because of that, that water energy will always temper what's coming through for you, which is more Wands energy, the King of Wands, the Emperor, moving up a level, getting more. And if you worry about being left alone, because the Four of Pentacles, which has come up twice, goes to the Five of Pentacles, and that sometimes speaks of loneliness rather than material loss, I don't believe that that is going to happen for you. I think you can make the choice using the energy of Scorpio here and understanding what your material needs are and what it is that you need to enjoy life. Then you are going to be able to get the information that you need. Now, I think because we didn't get many planets or anything coming up with that, and we're looking particularly at a Jupiter retrograde, which is a planetary thing, I want to close out the reading with a couple of rolls of the Astro Dice to see if there's any other energetic information to help you make these decisions and get this balance right, pile one. So we've got Pluto, which is transformative, very scorpionic. In Pisces is in fact where Jupiter is right now, and as I say, it will go into Capricorn, so the transformative energy is with you right now, and it's in the 8th house, which is also very scorpionic. So there is something very, very strongly scorpionic about this. So if you are not a Scorpio, then maybe read a bit about Scorpio if you want to familiarize yourself a bit more with it. But it is about transformation, and it doesn't surprise me because the Hermit and the Magician and the World coming up with this all suggests a major transformative period for you. But with Pluto, it may be somewhat tumultuous for some. Pluto has a little bit of the element around the Tower of it, though the Tower has not come up in this reading, so I think you have far more choice than if the Tower had come up. But there is something revolutionary in this energy for you. So let's roll one more time, as I think this is going to be a very significant period for you in your material and community life, and what you believe is going to be very, very important to this. And we've got the 7th house, which is about relationships of all types, with the Sun, which is your life path, in Aquarius. That's really interesting. So we have Pisces where Jupiter is starting, and then it's moving to Aquarius. Pile one, you are so aligned to the energy of what's been going on, and I would say aligned to the energy of all the major transits that have been happening in the last, say, 12 months, because there's been significant ones. you probably have both Pisces and Aquarius strongly in your chart. If not, you're very much connecting with them with aspects or transits more generally. But whatever this is about your life path. This is why this is saying that you don't want to get stuck. The 4 energy can feel okay and it can feel safe, but you need to make that change. You need to move forward because it's part of your life path. And this is an opportunity. Jupiter retrograde as an energy is going to help you. It's going to help you look at what your beliefs are and what really matters to you on both a material and an emotional level, and make the right decisions about who you are with in any sort of form and what material outcomes you want to go towards and achieve. I do think that many of my pile 1 could get opportunities for promotions and career advancement in this period, or at the very least make the connections and the decisions that will position you that way. But others, as I say, it could be new love, it could be changes around family, it could be anything. But this is a significant period to you, and there's a reason that you came to this reading. So I hope that you resonated with it, and I hope it helps you make the most out of this particular transit. It is in place, as I said, through to around about mid-October, so that's a reasonably long period of time to make these decisions and changes and so forth. And as I said, with the Scorpio card, you can have a very fine-tuned sense of the timing and not make the decision till you're ready. So pile 1, I hope that helps you to make the most of this transit, and I hope you enjoyed the reading, and if so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in future readings. Welcome pile 2 to your reading. So these 3 cards come from the Angel Tarot, and so they have correspondences to the typical tarot, which I will talk about, or the traditional tarot, but I'll also have a bit of a discussion about the angels that are watching over this, because I chose these very specifically, this tarot deck very specifically, to get a sense of the angelic or celestial powers that are watching over and helping you with this period of time where there could be great change and quite great shifts in what you believe and what you value and what you enjoy with Jupiter. So you had the 2 of Pentacles, the Sun, and the 3 of Wands. So the first thing that tells me in terms of traditional tarot is that this period of time is very important to your life path and who you are going to be in the longer term. The Sun in astrology is always your life path, and the Sun in the tarot is near the end of the Fool's journey. It is where someone has got a very mature attitude and has learnt a lot of lessons of life, and are therefore now starting to apply those and apply all of their new endeavours with that wisdom. And so that is the evolutionary journey of the soul. So that is very well aspected for something like a Jupiter retrograde, where you get the opportunity to take wisdom that you've built through life and then apply it to decisions about what you believe and what you want to pursue in the future. There are some very real decisions for you to make in this period of time. They're probably material because it's coming up as the 2 of Pentacles. So it could be choices about a job, it could be choices about financial matters, it could be choices about where you live, all of the things that have to do with the material outcomes. And you may be juggling more than one thing as you're trying to determine which is the right one for your longer term life path. And we have a lot of energy and a lot of people around you potentially who have a similar view or who are ready to go on a journey with you in whatever way this is, whether it's relationship, work, it could be anything. So the 3 of Wands gives that sense that you've found people who are of your soul tribe, or you're going to find them in this period of time as a process of doing the review that Jupiter retrograde provides to you. Now, the angels watching over all of this, and I probably won't pronounce the names correctly, so apologies for that, but the 2 of Pentacles is overseen by Poyel, and that is the angel that means God who supports the universe, and it's about fortune and fame, and it fulfills any request. So for some of my pile 2, you may literally be on the brink of raising your profile, developing real fame, or making a fortunate or lucky choice. So I think luck is watching over you, and Jupiter is a planet of luck. So the fact that it's retrograde is not diminishing your luck. It's doing the opposite. It's unleashing it to be aligned to what your life purpose is. The Sun's angel is Mehiel, and that's the vivifying God, restoration of life, protection from adversaries, rabies and wild beasts. So I doubt that many of you are really dealing with rabies and wild beasts, pile 2. But it certainly says that there is protection from anybody in terms of competition, which is very interesting when it's coming to choices that might be about raising your profile, because always when you raise your profile, you bring a certain degree of jealousy and competition in its wake. But at least you have the Three of Wands, as I say, you've got good people around you as well. And the Three of Wands angel is Sitael, which is the god of hope, which I think is lovely. It suggests that you have a very positive and optimistic view about what is happening in your life. And this talks about the construction of the universe, help with great works, and protection again from adversaries. So there's something in this period of time, and you're making some choices about it, pile 2, that will have a major impact on your success and the level to which you are seen in the world. And you have protection around you, significant protection around you, both in the form of the angelic realms, but also I think in the form of friends and soul tribe. And you're going to do something both for your life and for whatever cause you're pursuing, whatever relationship you're pursuing, that is in alignment with the universal will. So that's beautifully situated for this period of time and unlocking what Jupiter retrograde can give, and using the energy of Jupiter retrograde, which is to really sort out what do you want on a kind of cultural and belief level when moving up a level and being seen more. It's a lovely energy to make sure that you stay true to yourself and your life purpose, even when there's potentially temptations on one side and competition on the other. So in some way, at some level, that's occurring for you. So let's ask through another tarot deck for Spirit to give us a little bit more information about what this might look like for you. So firstly, I would be saying that for many of the people who've come to this, and I think it's picking up on almost that fame or being seen type energy that's around this. For many of you, there is a new creative idea, a new passion of some sort. It could be a new love passion that helps rise you up, that connects with you with a soul twin, and therefore the two of you go together with a similar view to do more in the world together. That's certainly possible with the Ace of Wands, but it's going to be for many of my pile 2 also a new creative endeavour or a new inspiration that is going to help rise your situation in whatever way this is. But I think for many of you, as I say, it'll be with your career or your creativity in some way. You are going to be presented with a choice. And it's a choice that's difficult to determine because it feels as though it's connected to something maybe you've tried before and it didn't quite work out the way that you wanted to at that point. And you even have been wondering with it, is it even worth continuing with what this is, or do I just park that and do something completely new? But there is also a real longing in your heart for what it was that this was about. So if it's a relationship, you're trying to sort out whether or not the relationship really has legs going forward. Can you let go of some of the less happy aspects of it and still get the ideal, or the less happy aspects of it tell you that the ideal was not what it appeared? But as I say, for many of you, I think this is more around something creative or career-wise. So there's something, Spirit is saying, that you have done before or you've worked on before that you've almost put aside, or you're really trying to decide, is it really who you are anymore and what you want to do? And what Spirit is saying is that the choice around this is determining whether there is something there that you can bring a new attitude to, a new perspective, and Jupiter retrograde gives a wonderful opportunity for new perspectives about what you value, that then means that it's an investment that can grow, or whether in fact it is better to invest in something quite new. And I think Spirit is saying with this, because we have the Death card, the Death card is usually a choice that you can make in this time, but you don't have to. So it's saying you really can put this aside further if you want. It's just that there is such a wonderful energy with Jupiter retrograde to make that determination and to go back to first principles about what in this is really part of your spiritual purpose and your life path, and what in it might have been that you wanted to raise your profile and you were just doing something that you thought would do that as opposed to something that really mattered to you. So I think Spirit's main message to you is, that's the point. Is it something that really matters to you? Is it something that gives you creative energy, passion and fire that therefore can grow? Or is it something that you let go of so that you can do something new? So let's ask Spirit for a little bit more information, just some clarification for each of those cards, just to see if we can understand this a little bit better. So the Seven of Pentacles, which is the investment, the building in a very material way, is being clarified by the High Priestess. And I think that Spirit's saying that go to your inner knowing around this. What your gut tells you about this will be very right, because you are very much aligned at the moment with your soul purpose. Whether you're aware of it or not, you very much are. And the Page of Wands around the Eight of Cups suggests to me that you have developed something to a reasonably great extent. But it's interesting with the Page, it's not the King, so you haven't reached its full true fulfillment. There is the potential of going to the King out of this, but equally when we get to around about the 10 or the Page in the tarot, we can also go back to first principles, and in this case go back, as we said, to the Ace of Wands. So I think it really is emphasizing that choice at the moment about, do you build something already that you have, or do you go back to first principles? There has been a lot of competition and potentially conflict around whatever your dream was. And so it may be that whatever you've been working on, or a relationship around you, if it's a relationship, the ideal versus some of the conflict is part of the answer. Spirit is saying that's part of the answer about it. Sometimes conflict, whether it's in relationships or in creativity, is in fact the fire that refines the thing and takes it to the next level. And sometimes it's the thing that tells us, no, let's do something different. Let's start again. So your inner knowing about, is this conflict serving you or is it holding you back, will help you. And I think Spirit is saying it because you may feel some pain in letting go of something or making that decision. In either case, it might be that if you are going to take this to the next level, you've got to almost absorb the pain from the past and move on with it and learn from it, which is not always easy. Or if you decide to let it go, then you may have to feel that loss about the effort that you've done. But whichever you do, the Ace of Wands energy is there and strength is there. So along with the Sun there, I think Spirit is very strongly saying to you that this is a period of time to build, to invest in what you've done, either through going back and starting again, or with all the wisdom that you have from being at the Sun, or in developing further something that you have, if you can absorb the disappointments and some of the conflicts that you've had around it already. And for those of you, and I think there will be some, though I don't think it's most, but for those of you that this is around a relationship, the key issue will be to determine, where are you able to be strong and true to yourself and your vision, and work together in a way as a relationship that works, compared to the dream of what you had. And that will help you make that decision. But go to your inner knowing, because it's very, very strongly attuned at this point. So I want to have a look with another pack. Oops, and this card wanted to come out, so we're going to put it out there. At some energies around this that are a little bit more sort of grounded or pragmatic. So there's pretty much the kind of narrative I've been talking about. It looks to me as though, for most of you, and I will go back to around relationship, but I'm going to say what I think most of you this is. I think that you've been dealing with something career-wise or creatively, and there's been a block, or there's been a rejection, or something just hasn't really taken, and you could take that as a stop, but you haven't, and that's the beauty of it. You're determined to do something, whether it's to learn from that and start with something new that you can go forward with, or to grow it. That determination is what's going to bring you happiness. There's a really strong sense here that you're coming right from your gut and you're really on path, and the rejection is only meant to refine and take you further. If it's around a relationship, then I would be saying that moving away from that situation and being determined to find the right person for you will bring in that passion. So either way, this period of time is meant to bring you happiness, because you have done the work pile 2, not just because of serendipitous fate, but because you've done the work and you've been prepared to deal with the pain. So, as this is an astrological reading, I want to use an astrological deck and put out some cards, and depending upon whether it tells the whole story, I may also use the astro dice, but let's see what cards come out for other astrological energies around this period of time for you. So, firstly, we have the North Node with the Sun. The Sun is your life purpose in astrology. The North Node is your karmic pathway. It's what you're moving towards. It's also associated with the world, so the completion of the great work. So all of that is around you're on a pathway. I think this is saying you are on the right pathway, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in your career and your creativity. But I think for most of you, it's the latter. It's really about who you are in the world, and you are heading in the right direction. Earth is a really strong element here. And so what is grounded, what you can make real, is what is important to you. I think for you, pile 2, you're here in this world for a reason. You are earthing and grounding a great deal of creative energy, and that's going to be part of how you'll make this decision. You'll make a very practical decision, and that's part of that determination, that grit that you have that can bring you the happiness. You may have Earth strong in your chart, so Taurus or Virgo or Capricorn. You don't have to, and you may not know your chart, and if that's not your sun sign, you may actually still have it strongly in your chart if you haven't seen it. But that earthy energy is important to this. We have an opposition. I am going to use the astro dice around that in a second, and that's picking up this rejection and those sort of energies, the conflict. So it's saying that you have faced that. You have faced some opposition or some sort of tension between something that you're trying to achieve or someone that you're trying to be with, whatever it might be. And I am going to use the astro dice about that in a minute, but it is picking up that energy as well too. This period of time is a breakthrough for you, pile 2, and it may have felt quite stuck and quite unclear leading up to it, but Jupiter moving into this is going to allow you to break out of any of the illusions around it and have much more clarity about what you believe and what your life path really is. And Libra, again, you might have Libra in your chart, you may be a Libra sun, or it could be just that air energy of fairness and balance, and what is right is also going to be important to this. Now, why I said I wanted to use the astro dice, and I'll use it in 2 ways. Firstly, I'm going to use it just with the dice that shows planets, because I want to see what the opposition energy is here. So we have Venus, which is about love. So some of you, this could be around a love relationship, as I say, but it can also be the love of creativity and the love of being able to bring your vision to the world. But Venus in opposition to Uranus. So that's a major breakthrough. The energy of Venus is about love, it's about beauty, it's about balance. And Uranus is all about revolution and change. So I sense in this, if it is a relationship, it's been one of those really tower-like relationships that have really knocked your socks off and really made you think about who you are in the world. And you need to make the decision about, once the tower falls, once the opposition is done, what can you take from that? And in this period of time, I think you'll be able to make that decision. But for most of you, as I say, I think this is something creative. And I think there's an enormous potential in bringing something beautiful in the world that is also revolutionary and different, but it's embracing both those things. So if you think about the opposition, it's like those two energies are sort of like opposing each other, and you can use that, you can marshal that energy. So maybe one of the things that you can do, pile 2, is look at your creative work, whatever it is that could potentially make you famous, or certainly raise your profile, and work out what can you change, how can you use the energy of Uranus to help the energy of Venus, rather than to say, no, my thing is beautiful, I can't change it, so that it's sort of in opposition all the time. So using that energy that way. So I'm going to use the astro dice more generally now. I'm going to do a couple of rolls to actually look at some other astrological energy for this time that might help you working out how best to make those decisions. So we have the first house, which is about who you are in the world. Yes, this is very much about who you are in the world. Pile 2, in some way or the other, you are going to level up in this period of time. We have the moon, which has a lot of emotional energy around it and a lot of psychic energy about it, the High Priestess card. And in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is in fact where Jupiter is going. So for a lot of this period of time, your psychic energy on a transpersonal level, which Aquarius gives, is going to be heightened, and it's going to have a major impact in how you're viewed in the world. You're likely to be viewed as quite psychic. So some of you may in fact do something creative or something in the spiritual world, and if so, it's going to raise your profile a lot. But for other people, there's something about the way that you look at emotions, and then you look at broader community and cultural ideas and concepts that is really going to help raise your profile. So one more roll of the dice, please, Spirit. So the 5th house, so creativity again, can be around love, can be around romance. So again, and we've got Venus. So again, I think Spirit is saying for some people this is about a relationship, but it's one that's fundamentally going to determine whether or not you go together as soul twins, or whether you need to sort of look elsewhere because it's not the right one. There's that energy for some of you. So Venus is about love, it's about beauty, and it's also about creativity in the 5th house. And we have Capricorn, which is the earth energy. It is making something in a career or in a earthy way out of something that is beautiful and creative, or out of love. So if there is a love relationship around this for some of my pile 2, I think there's something that connects it to being more grounded. It could literally be a decision about whether or not to move in together, to get married, something very much like that, or even to have children. So there's some major questions around that, about what you may want to do if that resonates for you, that you'll be really looking through in this period of time. But I think that the good news, whatever this is, love, creativity, career, you're going to make the right decision, I think, because you are on the right path and your inner knowing. Just listen to your inner knowing, and you're going to get the best possible outcome out of this time. So pile 2, I hope that that resonates for you. I hope it helps during this period of time. It's only around about 4 months, but a lot can happen in 4 months. So really do try to take advantage of this and work out what is working for you on a belief and a cultural and a creative level, and let go of the rest so that you can open up that energy. And I think if you do that, the decision will be relatively simple and obvious to you. So I hope that that was enjoyable, and if so, please like the video and subscribe, and I will see you in future readings. Welcome pile 3 to your reading. These first 3 cards come from the Angel Tarot, which has all the normal traditional tarot correspondences, but also assigns to each card an angelic protector, I guess, or an angelic energy from the 72 angels of the Kabbalah, and also from the Archangel realm, depending upon which cards come out. And I wanted to use these because I thought celestial support and advice would be useful for dealing with something like a Jupiter retrograde and really understanding what you can maximize and get out of this. So I'm going to talk firstly about what this is telling me about this time period for you, both on a traditional tarot level, and then also what the angels, the angelic energy is to support you. So I believe in this time you have an opportunity, if you choose to take it, to make some very significant decisions to maximize your material outcomes in either an emotional area or actually it is material or emotional primarily. So for some of you, this could be a period of time where you're looking at what relationships are working for you and what ones are maybe not, or even what emotional patterns are working for you or not, and what ones make you feel more isolated or alone. Or you may be trying to make a decision about whether or not you are doing what you want in the world at the moment for a career or making money, or whether or not it would be better to take the risk of going towards something that is more emotionally resonant, even if that potentially could have some impact on the bottom line. And why I'm saying that is we've got the King of Pentacles, and the King of Pentacles is someone who's really established themselves in some way, in their career, in their money, in their family, or potentially in a relationship. There's a sense of security, there's a sense of having developed something, and it's sometimes hard won. But the 2 other energies suggest that you're really now considering, is this really what you want? So the 8 of Cups is traditionally always about assessing what is working for you emotionally and letting go of what isn't, or maybe going towards a new light on the hill emotionally. So it's a very profound energy for a Jupiter retrograde, because it's like saying you have established so much, but is it what is really true to your heart? And then we have the Five of Pentacles, and that suggests that there is a possibility of some literal financial loss depending upon the choices that you make. Not necessarily enough to completely unseat the King of Pentacles, but enough to make you stop and pause. Or it could be that a decision to move away from what is not emotionally resonant to you, either in a relationship or in something material, may make you feel that you're going to be alone. So I think there's a real point about independence and truth to who you really want to be compared to the material outcome or emotional outcome in this period of time. Now, the angels watching over you with the King of Pentacles, and I'm probably not going to pronounce these correctly, but for the King of Pentacles, there's Lahaia, and that is the adored God, and it protects obedience, causes harmony and peace, calms anger in anyone. So if this is around a relationship, and it could be with the Eight of Cups there, you're not going to cause disharmony in whatever decision you make. You are going to be able to weather those storms and make the decision. It also, if it's around career and if you're in a position of responsibility, and I think many of my pile 3 may be, you will be able to go through whatever the change is that's offered by this period without causing great disharmony. So if there's a concern about that and that might lead to loss, I think that the angels are saying, no, that's not the issue. It might be leaving a job, for instance, and having to live on your savings for a short period of time till you find another job. I feel a sense of potentially a slight loss that could be coming from this change if you decide to do it, and you may not. But I think with that angelic energy, it's nothing that major or calamitous. For the Eight of Cups, we have Iael, and that's God, the pleasure of man's children. So it may be for some that if this is around a relationship, it could be a very established relationship, and there could be issues around children. So that might be part of the reason why there is a lot of questioning in this period of time with Jupiter retrograde about what you value. But it doesn't have to be that. That's just the name of it, but I'm just mentioning that because that could be the case for some. This energy is about transformation, and it gives consolation and adversity. So again, I think that the angels are saying if you're worried about some material outcome or some loneliness for a period of time, you have protection around you. And then the Five of Pentacles has Achaya, the forbearing God. And this shows patience, it reveals secrets of nature, and spreads knowledge and industry. So I think that angel watches over that period of time where you feel that there might be loss, to bring about the new and to give you the information that you need so that you can manage any of those risks. You know how to manage the risks in a very, very big way, pile 3, because you are the King of Pentacles here. So the angels are really just helping you in something that you're naturally in. And if it is around a relationship, and particularly if it's around a long-standing one with children, and there is any possibility of a separation or a change, whether it's because of emotional choices or whether it's because of career choices or something like that, you have angelic protection. So this period of time with Jupiter retrograde is all around making decisions that are more emotionally resonant for you. So let's ask Spirit with another tarot pack for a little bit more information about what this choice may be. So the choice is about something new, a new opportunity, a new creative thing, a new passion. The Ace of Wands is always something new that brings great energy to a situation, and it may be that is what makes you assess whether what you've achieved now, which is significant in whatever area this is all that you want. You're quite a pragmatic person. Again, like the King of Pentacles energy, where I get the sense that I'm not talking with this group to people who are not well established in the world to whatever degree you have grown, to whatever your age is. You're well established for your age, for your generation, for your career, and you're very pragmatic. You're not going to be diverted just by the new, but you can recognize the new when it comes. And there is some real issue that you're trying to sort out pragmatically around relationships. I do think for most this is probably around relationship, but relationship can be within the workplace as well too. There's a question about the completion of something and about whether what this relationship was to start with is ultimately going in the direction that you both initially believed it would, if it's a romantic relationship, or that, you know, a group of people believed in, so forth. For some reason, there's lots of energy around, but it's failing to complete. Now, and it's partly because there isn't the same vision anymore amongst the people concerned. So if it's a romantic relationship, maybe you're growing a bit apart. If it's a work or a creative relationship, it may be that what was initially passionate between you all about what you were doing is falling apart. Maybe partly for some because of the pragmatics of it. So this could be a classic sort of spread for people who work together on something creatively, and you've had and achieved together some great things, but in doing it you've had to sacrifice a lot of what your original vision was for the pragmatics of success. And so there's a question now about, are you completing the work that you wanted to do? So that I think would resonate for some in the creative field. For relationships, it's more, is it now going in the same direction, and is that something that can be turned around? Can this energy be turned around? So let's ask for some clarification against each of those cards from Spirit. So pile 3, this whole period of time for you, I think, whether it's around a relationship, this is saying both things again. It's definitely saying for some this is a relationship that you're in, or a family situation that you're in, and for others it's saying something about a creative or career project where you've worked with others. But in all cases, this period of time is asking you to consider what you are getting from it compared maybe to the others in the scenario, and compared to your dream, what you initially wanted. Because it's like the choices that you could make and the decisions with others, it's getting complicated, it's getting weighed down in some way. And I think for many of you, you might be the person who's brought most of the resources or most of the stability to the situation, and you're starting to realize that, and you're starting to realize you need to come out from behind the curtain in a way, to push your own ideas a little bit forward. You may well have often let go of some of your emotional dream within a relationship or a creative project to keep the peace. There's a sense that you might have done that because you had your eye on the long game, but this time is forcing you to really make those decisions and those choices. And I don't think you really want to be honest, and I understand that. I don't mean this as a criticism. You really wanted to keep to what you have, and you really do have a sense that there's a lot to be lost if you really come out and say what you think's going on. But I think what Spirit's saying is that the longer you stay in this position, all the great promise of this, it fails to complete. So whether it's around a relationship or whether it's around, as I say, a creative or career thing, it is necessary to have these conversations. It is necessary to take these risks. Remember that the angels are supporting you and protecting you. The only thing in this period of time that would be a loss in real terms to you is to not to use that energy of Jupiter retrograde to reassess this and to help open the dialogue to land wherever you're going to land out of this. So it's pretty significant energy for you, and it's not necessarily the easiest energy, though I do think that you are well placed to do it. And I think that's partly why, if anybody's going to sort this out, it's you. So, and if you don't, whatever is going on collectively and whatever version of this there is, it's just not going to be as much as it could be. So the risk of loss creates the loss, if that makes sense. So let's ask for a little bit more energy, like pragmatic energy, through a different oracle to see what else Spirit can tell us around this for you. Yeah, pile 3, it's really you. what you are the driving force in whatever this is, in the relationship, in the creativity, in the workplace, whatever energy, wherever this energy is showing out. You are the person who has the determination. You've taken too much on yourself, and you've taken on a lot of the emotional ideas and a lot of the conflict that's occurring around you, whether by your partner, whether by your family, whether it's workplace colleagues, whatever it is. This is saying you need some space. You need to be able to step away from always having to come up with the answers and give yourself time to rest. So if you feel you're carrying everything in your scenario at the moment, you need to be able to, at the very first thing, negotiate some time that you can go back within yourself, because all this energy is suppressing you. I think that's why it's all coming up reversed. If you can get that rest, if you can get that space, then your determination will come back, and then you can turn this energy around. That's why I feel all the way through this, with the angelic support that you have there that we talked about at the beginning, and more generally, that in reality the outcome won't be the Five of Pentacles, the outcome won't be the Ten of Pentacles and the world reversed, but you need the space and the rest and the thought process to make the decisions to bring about the best outcome. So given this is an astrological reading for a period of time astrologically, I'm going to use a pack with astrological information, and depending upon what comes out of it, I may also use the astro dice just to give us some final information around how to best use this energy and give yourself the space and time that you need, pile 3. So there's a few things that this says, and I will use the astro dice, but firstly, we have a full moon, so the energy around that is about harvesting and reaping what you've sown, and so there is such an opportunity to do that. If somewhere along the line, emotionally or creatively, you felt like we haven't quite got there, there's all the energy that you need to do that and to manifest. But this is also talking about new insights that come with the full moon because of the illumination of the full moon. So this Jupiter retrograde is giving you an opportunity to see things more clearly. The 5th house is involved. So for some of my pile 3, as I said right at the beginning, there could be children involved in this, involved in the decision, and that obviously is something that you will take into account. But again, it looks as though you would be able to, with the right decisions and the time out to think it through, work out how to put new boundaries or structures around that in a way that works for everybody. For others, it's around something creative, because the 5th house is very much around creativity, or it's around romance in a relationship you're in. So it could be any of those things. It's ruled by Leo, so there's some egoic issues around all of this that you need to deal with. And I think you're someone who is good at balancing that. That's why we had that sense of being able to deal with competition or adversity. And we've got cardinal signs. So this is all about being assertive and being a self-starter and a leader. So again, that's picking up you, who you are, and it's really owning that again in whatever this way is, so that this blockage can be shifted. And the 1st house is all about who you are in the world. And so it's your personality and the way that people find it. And I think it is supporting the view that I had before, that people look to you to be the leader. So use that leadership to negotiate what you need around this, pile 3. So I'm going to roll the astro dice a couple of times just to see if we can get a little bit more information, because I think the key thing here is understanding that you have everything you need to make the decisions and to have the conversations and to bring this to the surface and fix it up without really having the lack that you're worried about. The lack that you're worried about can only happen if you fail to do that, and that people will follow you. Even in a relationship, you are sort of a leader in that relationship. So we have the 5th house again, so it's very much pointing to all matters in the 5th house. We have Capricorn, which is about business quite often, so it is picking up where this is around business and so forth. But we also have Venus, which is love. This is my most broad group, I think, in this reading. It is touching all elements. Different people coming to this, it will be different things that are going on. So for some, it's going to be about love relationships, for some it's about family, and for some it's about career. But in all cases, with the Capricornian energy here, it is about things of long standing and the changes that need to occur in things of long standing for them to meet their potential. So one more time, we'll roll the dice and see what else Spirit can tell us. So we've got Scorpio in the 5th house again. Yeah, Spirit is very, very determined to say this is all about 5th house matters. So romance, creativity, children. Those are the 3 things that are most focused on in this time for you in some way. And Scorpio there gives you a great acuity of insight. With Neptune, that's important because Neptune can sometimes confuse things with a lot of emotional stuff. And with the full moon there, things can be emotionally on steroids. But it's good that you have Scorpio because it gives you an acuity to see through that. And that's also partly probably why people see you as a leader. Even though the primary energy seems to be Pentacles, so Earth around you, Scorpio is here going to give you the insight that you need to make the right decisions. So pile 3, you've got the most challenging, I think, aspects coming through this Jupiter retrograde, but you are more than able to deal with it, whatever it is. And I think if you have a fear of lack, you will find that action takes that away from you, and you will more align with what is of value and emotionally resonant to you, which is a very positive way to use Jupiter retrograde energy. But it is a lot is going to fall on you in this, in whatever the scenario is. So I very much hope the angelic energy is there on steroids for you and really helps you out. I hope this was helpful in some way, and I hope you enjoyed the reading, even though, as I say, it's a bit of a challenging one. If so, please like the video and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in future readings.